Hi everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video. This really cute little kawaii frog. It's super simple. We use Symmetry to help us and just pretty easy techniques. So if you're a beginner, this is a great tutorial for you. And if you are a pro, this will be just lots of easy fun and a really cute result. So I hope that you enjoy it. If you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that's something you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe. I also offer extra exclusive tutorials over on Patreon. That's linked in the description below if you want to check that out. If you join over there, you get access to exclusive tutorials every month, along with sneak peeks of what we're drawing over here on YouTube every week. And it really helps out to support me making these free tutorials, so I really appreciate it. And if you join now, you get access to all the tutorials that I've posted thus far. I'll post some on the screen here so that you can see them. But before we get started on today's video, the only thing that you will need to do is download the color palette. I have that linked in the description below. It's totally free to download. Just save the file to your iPad and then either double tap it or click on it and click open in Procreate, and it will automatically pop into Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. I will also post the canvas dimensions, color profile, and layers needed on the screen here and in the description below so that you can use those to set up your canvas. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we will get started. Okay, this is the color palette that we'll be working with today. So very simple one today. Let's just go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is set our background color. So to do that, we're going to go to our layer menu here, open that up, click on this background color layer to select a different color, which is going to be this first one on the first row of our color palette. So select that to set it to that greenish bluish color. Then we'll go back to our layer menu, just make sure we're on layer 1 to get out of that background color selector there. We're first going to kind of get a general shape of his body without using symmetry, and then we'll lay down our hard lines and then color it in. So we just need to get a better shape for him so that we don't have to just do it on the fly. So to do that, we're just going to grab our third color on the second row, our green color. I'm going to be on my monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. That's one of two brushes that we're going to use today is all. I have my opacity for the brush over here at 100, size at 30. And we're first just going to make a perfect circle. So to do that, I'm going to make a circular shape. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. Touch your finger on the screen to make it a perfect circle. Just a good size like this about is good. Fill that in. And then don't worry too much about where it is and your size too. If it got off, you can just grab it with your arrow tool on uniform and you can resize this circle. With our arrow tool selecting it, we also are going to make sure snapping's turned on in the bottom left, and we're going to center it on our screen where we see the yellow line and the other yellow line. So both yellow lines here were centered vertically and horizontally. And again, this is just going to get the shape of our body. We're going to go back and actually refill our lines when we have our lines in place. But essentially we want it to be mostly circular, but then we want it to get a little flatter on the bottom. So to do that, we're going to have it selected and click warp. And we're just going to drag the bottom middle area kind of straight up. So try to grab that. Sometimes it's kind of hard to grab it. There we go. And bring that up. And then maybe bring each side out a little bit. So maybe on this like lower line here, I'm going to bring that out a little bit on each side so it gets a little wider on the sides. But again, this isn't perfectly symmetrical, but when we draw our lines, it will be. But we just want to get kind of the general shape here. So something like that. So it started as a circle. Now we have this kind of squashed shape, but this is going to be his body. So I'm going to switch back to uniform just so it's selected. Make sure to recenter it again on that vertical yellow line at least, and kind of generally from top to bottom is fine. So something like this. And now we're going to lay down our lines. So on my layer menu, I'm going to add a new layer above the one that we're on, and we're going to turn on symmetry. So under the gear icon, under canvas, click to turn on the drawing guide, click edit drawing guide, set it to symmetry down here, and then you should see a vertical line. If you don't, just click vertical under options here, and then click done. Then go back to our layer menu real quick, make sure this layer that we're on now says assisted. It should. If it doesn't, just click on it and turn on drawing assist. That means symmetry is active on this layer. Now we're going to switch to our black color to make our lines. So that's the 5th one on the top row. And we're going to use our same monoline brush, still at 30%, unless you want a different thickness for your lines, but I'm going to stick with 30. So we're going to make his eye sockets first, and then his feet, or his front feet, and then his body and his back legs, so that all of our lines come together exactly how we want them to. So I'm going to start kind of on the top right corner of his head here. I'm going to go into my green area a little bit, and I'm going to make a circular shape, hold it down until it turns nice and smooth. Click this ellipse button at the top if you want to adjust it at all, but this is our eye socket. So again, our lines are going into our green shape just a little bit on each side, and they're nice and circular. You can change the size of them if you need to, but a good, just kind of nothing crazy huge, but nice froggy eyes there. And you can move it around too if you need to move it up or down on this shape. Go ahead and do so. But that looks good there, I think. Okay, next up are our feet, and we're only doing this because these lines go inside our shape. So our eyes go into our shape and our front feet go into our shape. That's why we're doing them first. So then imagine that this is like the side of his body. We're going to go ahead and start maybe right about here. So kind of straight down from like maybe the center of the eye. Again, up into our green space a little bit. Kind of round around like this. Hold that down. I want the inner side to be a little shorter actually. So I'm going to start that again. And maybe stop a little shorter so it's more like this. But again, hold it down until it turns nice and smooth. Then you can edit it, you can make it wider, you can change the angle, you can make them shorter, anything like that. But we want them sticking off of his body down below just a little bit, so a lot more inside his body than our eyes were. Okay, I think that looks good. Now we can make all the connecting lines for his body. So I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to connect between the eyes on kind of this shape here. So I'm going to follow the shape, nice and smooth, hold it down. If your line turned into a line and not an arc, you can go to the top and click the line button and see if it gives you the arc option. If it doesn't, you might just need to draw it a little bit more curved. But either way, I held it down, I click the arc button at the top or find the arc option, and then I'm just going to make sure that this is nice and smoothly connecting across the top in kind of like a nice smooth line that gets connected. And if it isn't directly on your green shape, that's okay. That's why we just have the shape as kind of like a guideline. But now it looks something like this. Or redraw the line if you need to. Sometimes it just gets a little too far off and you can't quite get it to fix itself correctly. Okay. And then we're going to connect on this side as well. So another kind of curved line. Hold it down. And again, it doesn't have to be exactly on the shape. So if it's a little off, that's okay. Just get a good shape that is close to it. So like I have a little gap here, a little gap down here. That's okay. We just want it to look like one big shape in the end. And then I'm going to connect this one here. I'm going to make it kind of more curved than I think it needs to be probably because it's pretty flat. So I'm going to curve it nice and good and then fix the arc at the top. Make sure it's always meeting up with your other lines, so there shouldn't be any gaps in between your lines. And we also just always want to avoid any sort of like double rainbow effect going on. So we always just want it to come together into like one nice smooth arc in the center, never like a double rainbow. So just get that looking as best as you can, and that's the start of our frog body. Lastly, we just need his back legs. So to do that, I am going to start with the foot. So it's going to come off of the bottom area of our front little paw here, our front leg. And it's going to start right on that edge and come and loop around like this. Hold it down. It doesn't loop all the way back to the body. So I did edit ellipse, and I'll just fix it up there. But again, good little loop. And then next to that, right about here, kind of, this is his foot part. If we start about halfway from the edge to the side, right about there, and then we'll loop up and back down towards the body, like so, to get another loop there. Edit that arc if you need to after holding it down. Make it wider, whatever you need to do. Something like that. And then very lastly, our little tummy. So that's going to connect in the middle pretty low. So I'm going to start on the side of his arms, maybe about halfway from top to bottom of what's showing here. And a good curve towards the center. Hold it down, adjust it. So it meets up nicely on the side and comes together nicely in the middle. Again, sometimes you just need to redraw it to get the right shape. So I'm going to do that. Hold it down. There we go. That looks good. Again, fix it up though, if you need to. Beautiful. Just a nice little belly there. Done. Now we can get rid of our green background shape. That was really just to get the general sense of the shape of our body. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that, and we'll do a new layer with fresh colors on it. So with our line layer now selected as our only layer left, click on it and turn on reference. Add a new layer, drag our new layer below our reference layer there, and this is where we'll fill in our colors. So with reference turned on, if we go to drag and drop a color, it'll just fill in these lines. So I'm going to grab my first color on the second row, and we'll drag and drop that into the body, and then click this continue filling button at the top, and we can tap into our legs as well, not our belly though. I'll switch to my second color on the second row. Color drop still turned on, so I can just tap in here, or you might need to drag and drop again. But either way, we should have these now filled in, and that looks great. That's the only color filling that we need to do with that reference layer. So I'm going to go back to my layer menu, click on that layer with our line work on it, and turn reference off now. Okay, now we can continue on. We can make his face. So I'm going to add a layer above the one that we're on now. Click on it and turn on Drawing Assist so we can use Symmetry again. And we'll go back to our black color to make his eyes, the fifth one on the top row. I'm going to go into each of these circles now. Well, Symmetry's on, so just one of the circles. Make another good circle, hold it down until it turns nice and smooth. Either touch your finger on the screen or click this ellipse button at the top to set it to a circle. And then we can kind of resize it a little bit if we need to. So if you go to resize it, you just need to touch in between two of the blue dots. If you touch on one, it'll like stretch it out into an oval shape. You can always click circle at the top to bring it back, but to resize the circle and keep it a circle, just touch in between two of the blue dots like so. And then if you need to move it around, you just touch outside of it to kind of drag it around. Make sure not to tap on the screen or it'll get rid of the editing option. But I'm going to make them nice and kind of smaller, and then kind of a little closer to the body than the edge. So maybe about there. Go ahead and fill that in. Okay, same layer, we'll just make his mouth now. So that's going to be kind of right in between his eyes, really high up on his body here. I'm going to start a ways from my symmetry line and do a nice good curve to the center, hold it down. Click the Edit Arc button to adjust it if you need to, or redraw it if you need to. Nice, good, long arc like this. Make it a little smaller if you need to, or bigger. But something like that. Looks good. Beautiful. Same layer, we can make his cheeks with symmetry turned on, so we'll switch our color for that. That's going to be the last one on the top row, 7th in line. And I'll go down here just below his eyes and make a nice oval. Hold it down till it turns nice and smooth. Click the Edit Ellipse button at the top, and I maybe just tilt them down on the right and left side a little bit, but right under his eyes. But adjust the size if you need to, maybe a little smaller. Maybe about there is good. And then I'll go ahead and fill that in. The last thing we need to do is make the little twinkle in his eye, but that's not going to be symmetrical. We're just going to make one and duplicate it for the other. So on my layer menu, I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to go ahead and grab my 6th color on the top row, the bright white. It's almost white. And same brush and everything, and I'm going to start just in my right eye, and I'm going to make a nice big oval on the upper left corner. Hold it down, click the Edit Ellipse button if we need to. Maybe a little bit rounder, but a nice big oval there in the top left corner, tilting this way. Fill that in. Then maybe I'll make like a little circle next to it. Fill that in. So something like that. But again, we don't want it to be symmetrical. If we had done it with symmetry on, we'd have an oval like this over here with the dot there. And we want it to be identical, which is how reflections in the eyes work. They're exactly the same no matter the eye. So I'm going to go to my layer menu, make a duplicate of this white layer. So slide to left and hit duplicate, grab it with my arrow tool, move it on over here to the other one and place it in there nicely. If you have snapping turned on in the bottom left, you'll see these 3 blue lines pop up. That means that you're directly in line with your other one. So you can use that if you need to as well. But nice, just kind of eyeball it and center it there. That works too. Now that that's done, on our layer menu, I can snap those white layers to my face layer. So they're all on one layer there, or you can just snap them to each other to save a layer and keep it separate from your face. Whatever works, doesn't matter. You can leave them separate even if you want. We're not using a ton of layers today, so that's okay. Next up, we're going to add the spots to him. So to do that, we're going to go right above our filled in color layer here and add a layer above it. Click on it and set it to a clipping mask so we only draw within this shape. And then grab our dark green color, the third one on the second row. And now we'll make his spots. We're going to do that by using our monoline brush and just creating more ovals like we've been doing, same idea. But we're only going to do it kind of towards the outer edges, nothing on the eyes, but maybe a little bit up top on the top of his face, and then maybe on his sides and maybe his legs. Nothing on his front legs, nothing in the middle, nothing over the belly. So maybe I'll just start kind of over here and I'll just make like a good size oval, hold it down until it turns nice and smooth. You can click the edit ellipse button to adjust it if you need to. And I'm not going to fill it in yet. We're just going to kind of keep creating shapes here. Adjust them each time if you need to, but I'm not being too serious with it. Some of them will have go outside of his face like this, but make sure to always make a full shape so that we can go to fill it in. So even if it's going off the edge, make sure you have that full shape there. Some of them can even go like under his cheeks if you want, or anything like that. I don't want them to overlap like on the side of our body and our legs, which they will if you draw over both of them. So I'm just kind of moving that one so it's not doing that. Then I'll hit his legs as well, his outer legs. Okay. When we have a good amount of spots that we want to fill in, I will drag and drop into one, then click this continue filling option at the top, and then we can just tap into the others to fill them in also. If they're too small, we can go back with our brush in a second, but let's tap into the ones that we can. And then yeah, if you need to, just switch back to your brush and fill them in manually if you have any smaller ones. But that's all I'm going to do, some nice little spots on him. Okay, and then lastly, we're going to add a highlight and shadow to him. So on our layer menu, let's add a layer right above our spots layer and click on it and set it to a clipping mask as well. So we're also clipped to our colored shapes again. And then click the N on this layer this time to open up our options here. And we're going to change this layer style to overlay. We're going to use these 2 colors on the bottom row, so this really light one and this really dark purple one, to create highlights and shadows on the same layer here. I'm going to start with my highlights, so first color on the bottom row, and this time we're going to switch our brush to the soft brush under the airbrushing category. So find that, opacity is at 100, set our size to maybe 15%, and to start, and I'm going to start in the center of his body and just kind of work out in like a circular motion very lightly to add a little bit of a glow in the middle there. Not touching the edge anywhere, just right in the middle, like so. Then, same layer, we're just going to switch our color to the second one on the bottom row, lower the size of our brush a little bit to maybe like 10%, and I'm just going to add some shadows with this now, towards the lower end of the body and the lower end of the legs, like so. And then maybe like the lower sides of the eyes here. So kind of where the eyes meet the body will hit like the lower side of the circle there, and then underneath it on the body, the side of the body there as well. Add a little shadow there. Maybe next to the legs, like here as well on the side of the body. So just add a few more shadows to finish it off. That looks good. That's all we're doing to add just a little bit more dimension to him. And then we just need the shadow underneath him. So on my layer menu, I'm going to add a layer to the very top, drag it to the very bottom. We'll create an oval first on the ground, which is going to be with this third color on the top row. And this time we're actually going to use the selection tool to help us. So grab your selection tool at the top. switch it to ellipse, and turn on color fill. And now we can just start kind of up towards the left of his body here and drag till we get a nice skinny oval. Even if it's not directly under him, we can move it, but I just go side to side so it's big enough to kind of go on each side, but we can resize it here in a second as well. Let that go to let it fill in. Grab it with your arrow tool on either uniform or freeform. I'm going to switch to freeform, and I'm first going to move it and center it on my center yellow line, but then we can also like extend it either up and down or left and right, whatever you need to do, and then recenter it there on that center yellow line underneath his body so it looks something like this, kind of extending out in front of him a little bit and as centered as best as you can. I think that looks great. Very lastly, we're going to add a little bit of darkness to the outer edge of our background so he pops a little bit more in the middle. So I'll go to my layer menu, add another new layer, and drag it below the layer that we were just on, so we're right above our background color layer. Grab our second color on the top row. Same soft brush. I'm going to increase the size of it to like 20%. Zoom out so I can see it better. And I'm just going to go around the edge in kind of like a circular motion, mostly hitting the corners. And then going really lightly towards the middle if I need to kind of blend it out a little bit more. So that should look great. If you have trouble and you have like really hard edges to your brush, that's okay. All you need to do is once you have some color laid down, even if it's kind of rough, go to your wand icon, click Gaussian blur, and then you can drag that up on the screen a little bit to kind of help blur things together a little bit better. So do that if you need to as well. Then I'm going to go to my gear icon and turn my drawing guide off so that line goes away. And then we can see our picture in full. And that is it for our drawing today. So I hope that you had fun. I hope that you liked the way that yours turned out. I hope you maybe learned something new. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and let me know what you thought down in the comments below. The likes and comments really help out my channel, so I really appreciate it. If you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, I would love to see how it turned out, so go ahead and post it there and then tag me so that I can check it out. And while you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching.